Yes, you guys are terrible. All right. All right. Before we begin, let's talk about last week. We went 8-5 because Ripper couldn't pull the trigger on the Jets. Afterward, he talked him into it. So
You didn't let me make the change.
yeah, I know.
It's final decision. Once he makes
exactly.
the recording, it's done.
Exactly. So both went 8-5. You're 77-58-1. 71, 66-1. So 6 games. 6 games up. I need to make some progress here.
Wow. Now we know the Jets are the super team, so I'm definitely going to use them as my second homer pick.
Yeah, exactly. And when I pick against the Jags, they're really good. So much better than when I pick for them. So recap of last week. Anything you guys want to talk about? Is Josh Allen going to play? So
I hope so.
Yeah, are the Bills screwed?
They're playing pretty coy on the injury list right now. So
as our statistician, who soon will be replaced by either Calvin Ridley and or Russell Wilson or one of the other retiring quarterbacks.
Hey, you know what? I've got a wristband and I'm okay with that. So.
Because you're going to replace the quarterbacks, or
I mean, I'm not afraid to admit I use a wristband, unlike Russell. So.
Oh, I did not hear that hubbub.
Oh
yeah.
Tell
him, Strike. Tell him.
So earlier this week, one of the things, I think it was like Monday, maybe it was Tuesday, but came out of Seattle that one of the reasons their offense has been so successful is because Geno Smith uses a wristband. So Russell, of course, responds back today with, well, we won a lot of games and I wasn't using a wristband or something to that effect. So, because Wilson hated the wristband, like hated it.
So I thought those are just plays, right? That's all they are. Like, I mean, what you hate about is you still have to call the play. You still need to know what the play is in your head. I mean, the wristband is just 47, right? Like that's how that's called in. It's nothing. It's not rocket science. I don't. And if anything, it seems like it's a quicker way to communicate which play you want to run, right?
Oh, there was a lot. I mean, if you watched Russell the last couple of years in Seattle and this year in Denver, there's been a lot of times where he gets really close to the play clock running out, trying to make an audible or something at the line. And so I think what Seattle's doing is calling in 2 plays every time and allowing Geno to come to the line, figure out the defense, and then adjust.
I mean, I think all NFL.
Whereas Wilson,
all NFL teams
Wilson
do
wasn't
that.
Doing that.
I mean, that's why you hear the kill calls. Is they're killing one of them and going to the other one. I mean, at least I think everyone outside of Urban Meyer. Last year I think Urban Meyer may have run the high school offense and 6 plays. Okay, so Eagles 7-0. Vikings look like the toast of the NFC. Packers look like they're done.
Your Super Bowl pick fucking fired their coach.
Well, that's just because they needed to get that inspirational spark to take him over the edge. I still think they should have given Ryan a little more time. I mean,
I'm just gonna say, when you don't have anybody except your assistant QB coach on staff who's actually called NFL plays before, maybe not the best idea.
I would go with probably not gonna. Well, and Jeff Saturday, right? Like what coaching experience does Jeff Saturday have? And
high school football, and it was a sub 500 record.
I mean, yay!
Yeah.
I mean, he was a great center. Don't get me wrong. Like if you need a center, he's probably can still play. But I don't know the head. And who knows? I mean, maybe he knows I'm not saying the guy doesn't know how to call plays and all that stuff. He's been around Peyton Manning his entire career. So, but it does seem like an oddball move.
How much worse can they do? Is I guess what they were thinking. Like we're already
bad,
shatting the bed.
Yeah.
So we might as well just compound that with another stupid decision, like bringing in Matty Ice in the first place.
Okay. Any other recaps of last week?
I mean, the Jets view looks awesome.
Yeah, baby.
I mean, like, the Bills could not move the ball to save their lives, and it was evident. Um, I think the other thing is that Justin Fields might actually finally be a decent quarterback, or at least playing like one.
Can you tell me how many passing yards? Was it over 200 yet?
It was not. He
Okay.
rushed for more yards than he passed.
Oh,
Justin who?
Yeah, then he's not. Contrary to we've already broken out Justin Fields. Just so that anyone new to the show, Justin Fields is a great running back. He's a bad quarterback.
Correct.
So
I don't recognize Justin Fields as a quarterback anymore.
I mean,
Just
he
Justin Fields, a running back that throws the ball every now and then.
He was 17 for 28 for 123, so he only threw for 4.4 for pass, but he had 3 touchdowns and no interceptions.
Oh shit. Okay.
I mean, if we go to Ripper's fantasy relevance, I mean, the dude scored 4 touchdowns. That's pretty fantasy relevant.
yeah,
but
if he was a starting running back,
flyer.
yeah, that's great.
Strikey.
Oh, come on now. Gotta have a little fun.
I don't recognize him as a quarterback. He's a running back that throws the ball every now and then. And by every now and then, I mean very seldomly.
About as good as DJ Dallas does.
There you go. So, Uncle Rico, $6,500 right now.
Yeah, and weren't we wrong? I mean, yeah, I didn't. Once I saw the Jets hanging around, I was like, uh-oh. Like, it's one of those that you felt if that game was close because it's a rivalry game and everything else, you're like, oh, that's not good.
Man, imagine, though, had he won the week before, what he would have won, and he kept letting it ride, the guy would have had some nice cash on him. But
does he seem like he has like an end, like do you think if they hadn't lost that game and he had let it ride at this point, he'd be like, oh, if it's $100,000, is he like, I'm going to pull it out? Or do you think he's just the kind of guy that's riding at the whole 17?
No, he's going to ride it all season.
Yeah.
And if they make the playoffs, too. He already made that very clear.
Tell him thanks for the sub, buddy. Okay, so let's go. Our first game of the week is the Falcons.
Before we start into the first game of the week,
no, we've already moved on.
No, we're talking about the Washington Commanders really quick. Oh. District Attorney for DC is going to make an announcement tomorrow at a press conference about the Washington Commanders.
And the fact that they're soon to be sold?
They're
sold?
Probably going into whatever the term is, holdership, or where the NFL takes them back over to protect them.
Interesting.
Wow. The Dan Snide. Okay.
Snyder.
Week 1, Falcons. Or game 1. Game 1, not week 1. Falcons 4-5, Panthers 2-7. Who will score first?
Well, Patterson's back, right? That's what I think.
Cordell Patterson.
Which is great. I think that Algier, whatever his name was, filled in pretty well. I think he'll still have a role in the offense, but Patterson is definitely adds a more dynamic running back to that little twist. Mariota is still Mariota. Not doing horrible, but not doing great either, right? On the flip side of that, you have the Panthers. And I laugh just because it's the Panthers. They're not doing great at all. They had Mayfield. Who's quarterbacking now, Strikey?
Oh, they dropped Walker started and Baker got brought back in the second half.
Because Walker was like 1 for 9 with 2 picks.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we can't get any worse. Like, we'll put Baker in. At least he'll throw some completions.
The tale of 2 bad quarterbacks. I love it. Panthers got rid of McCaffrey. They don't have really a
user joined
core.
Your channel.
So where does that leave you? This is definitely a coin flip for the Chitties in my book. Although the Panthers are worse than the Falcons. So with that said, and Baker being the quarterback of the Panthers, I'm going to go with the Falcons on this one. Because Cordell is going to be back.
Yeah, I don't see how it's anybody but Atlanta in this game.
Oh, it's pretty easy how to see how it can be anyone other than Atlanta. These are 2 bad teams.
User left your channel.
Right. So at the end of the day, you've got a bad team and a bad team. They're both offensively inept. So in a 13-10 game, the Panthers can get lucky how they can get a defensive score. Mariota may fumble the ball backwards and twice. So everybody, again, these teams are only separated by 2 games. It's not like it's unbelievable, but the money says the Falcons, and I think the Falcons' defense is better. Their offense is better. So I'm picking the Falcons, but again, I don't think this is going to be. I'm looking at the games, and there's a lot of games that I wouldn't watch. This is high up on the I wouldn't watch this one. Like if you paid me, I'd probably be like, no, I'm good. So
the only offense the Falcons have is Cordell Patterson. And he's back.
And I will make a complaint that my buddy makes about Thursday Night Football, which is when you're watching it on Prime, you can't flip between any other channels.
So can we spend a moment on that? Because two things is the other night or the other day when there was the London game, right? I had to buy, which I have season ticket, so I had to buy the London game and ESPN Plus, and I'm like, that's kind of messed up, right? You buy the NFL package so you can get the games, except the games are obviously on broadcast TV. They're blacked out. I get that. You can watch it on ABC or whatever. But I had to pay for another and then on top of that, Prime's the same way. Like you don't go out to a sports bar, they just don't have the game up on Thursday night like normal because it's not on regular TV or anything else anybody subscribes to in the bars. And so for us, it's literally I've got a smart TV downstairs and I can just put the app on and do it. But it's such a pain in the butt because you can't watch it on. It used to be ESPN. It was one of the ESPNs. I don't know which one, but that's where it used to be on. Now you just can't watch it. And I think it's funny because it's getting more and more like, oh, well, we need this package for Thursday, this package for the London game, and then you need Sunday. I was like, that it's not fun. I just want one place that I can get the games and watch them. So.
I mean, it's no different than the streaming services, right? You've got Netflix for that, Disney Plus for that, Hulu for this other thing, and Amazon for the fourth thing.
Correct. But I think those are a little different, right? Because like Marvel is on Disney, and you get these franchises that are on one channel, and the NFL it's on 7, and yeah, I get that at the end of the day people are going to buy it and they're going to do it, but I just don't. It kind of sucks that you can't just get a NFL channel and be done with it. Heck, there is actually an NFL TV channel that has none of them. So fix your shit, guys. I want to watch football.
Yeah. Moving on.
All right.
It almost became a cord cutter podcast.
don't want. I don't. I mean, yeah, I don't. It frustrated me. I had to buy something else. Like that should have been enough. Anyhow, Strikers homer team, the Seahawks versus the Tom Brady's of Tampa.
Boy, well, this is Geno Smith is now Striker's favorite quarterback. Says he's loved Geno all along. Never even cared about him.
That's totally not true.
Anyway,
it's not
he's got a new tattoo in Geno we trust.
Yes, across his backside.
Theo and Geno's in a certain spot there, boys.
Geno's doing his best Russell Wilson in his prime heyday impersonation. He's got almost 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 4 picks. I mean, you got to give it up to the guy, man. He's playing really well. 73% completion percentage. That's not bad at all. He's making good reads, making good throws. You got to really respect that for a guy that, was probably headed to Cleveland at one point. And didn't he ever play in Cleveland?
Well, I mean, literally, he was in the Cleveland. Like Cleveland was like, nah, we don't want this guy. I mean,
correct. He wasn't even good enough for Cleveland. But hey, you know what, man? Sometimes it's either a fluke season or he's just. Look, man, you've got quarterbacks that sit behind other quarterbacks like what's his name in San Francisco that sat behind Montana, Steve Young. Yeah, we didn't know anything about Steve Young forever, right? Until he finally came around. Same thing for even Aaron Rodgers behind Brett Favre. We didn't know really much about him until he had his opportunity and came up.
But Rodgers was a first-round pick. Young was not.
Or either way, you get the point though, right? So Geno's sitting behind a quarterback for a long time. Now he's getting his opportunity. He's been very bad other places, or in general, anyways. But maybe this is it, man. Maybe he's finally coming out of some shell. Maybe his game got better. Maybe it is what it is. But
and do you remember back in the day? So like Terry Bradshaw was terrible when he first came out. Like quarterbacks back in the day had a lot more patience, and the NFL wasn't as popular, and people didn't watch it much, and coaches didn't get fired every 5 minutes. but there was something about drafting a guy and him having to learn the game. The game is so many pieces. There's a mental piece. There's a physical piece. Can you make all the throws, all that stuff, and those all, some quarterbacks develop differently. Terry Bradshaw, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, and it took him a while to figure it out. And then when he did, of course he was some of the best defenses of all time, but he won a lot of Super Bowls with those teams. So it's with Geno. Think about it. He had like a part of a year, and then another year he was going to start, and then he got his jaw broke, right? And then just in practice, he never really shined above the other people.
Well, and then the year after, he tore his ACL.
Yeah, it's just a series of misfortunes. Yeah. But then that gives you the time to sit there and watch other people and hone your craft and learn the mental aspects. And of course, there's just some quarterbacks that don't practice well. Like, and there's some players that don't practice well. And then you get them in the game, and you're like, oh, how did we miss this guy? So it's just interesting. I think we pulled again, I think they pull the trigger too much on quarterbacks and give up on some. Josh Allen's a perfect example. They're ready to pull the plug on Josh Allen. Look at him now. They're glad they didn't, right? So, all good points. Go ahead, Ripper.
Well, and you're not wrong, right? So Geno's finally getting his opportunity and stepping it up, and maybe this is, the next great thing for Seattle. Who knows? I guess we'll see, right? It's one season. Let's not get too excited. If he does it again another season, then so be it. They've got a great little running back at Seattle, Walker, who's really tearing it up. Because obviously we knew Penny would eventually get hurt. Which he did. I think we called it.
Yeah,
I think that was the most obvious call anybody could have made.
Yeah. Geno's also throwing at Lockett, Metcalf. He doesn't have a bad receiving core. He doesn't have a bad running back. So the formula for him to be successful is really there. You've got a running game. You've got good receivers. I mean, there's nothing really to sneeze at when it comes to that offense. So he's in a system that's designed for him to be productive, and I think that's what he's being. Is this the real Geno, and this is what we're going to see moving forward? Man, you see him play, and I kind of want to say yes, man. I think Seattle has a good one on him, man. He's really playing sharp football. I haven't seen a lot of dumb mistakes or decisions, so we'll see, I guess, right? We'll see. And you're right, he sat for 4 years, injury and all that. Maybe he took advantage of all that time and research, right? He did his homework. He watched tape. He learned. He, advances his own game, and that's important now. And to your point about Terry Bradshaw, though, back then everything was different, right? Football was different back then. They weren't playing with the technology you have now. They weren't playing with the film you have now. They weren't playing for all the game enhancements, physical enhancements, everything you have now. Back then, Terry was like, okay, well, some dumb yahoo out of wherever to come play football. But even back then, the game didn't need you to be the smartest cookie in the bunch, man. It just needed you to have some balls to play ball, because you're going to get hit by some big linebackers. Ain't nobody throwing you a flag, right?
Yeah.
So, Terry, what he has for lack of smarts, he has some huge balls, and that's the way he played. But anyways, back to Geno. I think Seattle really got lucky. I think or not lucky, but I think maybe Seattle knew what they had. They didn't. It's not like they died to keep Wilson, did they, Strike?
No. They moved him when they did because they knew he wasn't going to re-sign, and they didn't want to pay him what he was going to want. That's been pretty damn obvious for a while that Seattle had no desire to pay what, especially after Rodgers signed that contract, a few months prior.
Geno's been doing this thing, man, and I think that speaks a lot for what Seattle wanted to do. But anyways, in this game, though, on the flip side of that, you got the Buccaneers. Tom Brady is 2,500 yards, 10 TDs, 1 pick. He's lost 1 wife. Life isn't great, but it isn't bad for Tom either. Now the Buccaneers aren't playing the greatest football they can play right now. They're 4-5, or Seattle 6-3. Fournette's not really is he even running right now.
I wouldn't call it running. It's more like
he played against the Rams, but that's about all I would say.
Evans is still hot. He didn't have a great game last week. Well, he had an okay game last week, but he's still on fire.
God, so many drop balls by the Tampa Bay receivers. It was ridiculous. Yeah. When you watch a wideout get the ball, hit him in the helmet, like in the face mask, because it goes right through his hands and he drops it. It's like...
For all intents and purposes, to make a decision on this game, honestly, I hate to say this, but I think Tom Brady once again has his wife in his mind with Antonio Brown, you know, and all them. What do you call them?
TikTok videos.
Yeah, yeah. Let's call it OnlyFans type videos. But
Yes.
yeah, Antonio Brown's doing his thing with Giselle, and Timmy's still freaking out in his mind, and Geno Smith is on fire. I'm gonna take the Seahawks on this one. I think they win this one, and they win it kind of convincingly. Tom Brady seems to have good days, bad days, and more bad days than good days because he can't get all that stuff out of his head. I honestly think that Tom Brady is having some kind of breakdown right now. I don't think that he'll be in the league next year, to be honest. But anyways, I'm taking the Hawks.
All right. Geno's efficient. There are levels of quarterbacks. You've got shouldn't be here. You've got the Justin Fields type line that's they're running backs. They're not quarterbacks. There's average quarterbacks. I think Tannehill's guys like that get you in the game. I think Geno's like a step above that, but I don't think he's franchise. Like nothing in there is showing me that hey he's franchise guy, right? He's got good parts around him on offense. The team's playing very well. There's no holes. Flip it around on the Tampa side. Their line was kind of hurt coming in this year. They lost a couple people to retirements and free agency. And it looks like it's not as good. Throw in Tom having an existential crisis. Throw in that everybody's sniping because you're used to winning and you're not now. And I think teams, when they're successful for a period of time, they almost expect it. And they expect that we just show up and we win, right? And this seems like that kind of team. Like Fournette, when the Jags had him, there was a reason why, and I don't love the move, but there's a reason why they got rid of him, and that's he had lazy tendencies, right? So it's showing up now. Like he's not running the ball very hard. Like he doesn't look like the same guy. Playoff Lenny. He doesn't look like that. So no running game. The defense taking a step back, the offensive line taking a step back, the wide receivers dropping balls, and Brady all making mistakes. It's bad. With that said, Tom doesn't like to lose either, and they're 4-5. This is a game he's got to win. And I know there's a day that comes that Tom Brady can no longer push the button and win the game, but I still think he's got a push the button, win the game, and I think they're going to win this one. So. I could be totally wrong. Maybe I hope for Stryker you guys go 7-3 and get a stranglehold on the West, but I just don't. Having been beaten down by Tom Brady so many times, I just can't go against him.
Alrighty then. Hawks.
Till they're 4-10, and then I'll be like, okay, you're done.
Brady's out of the season not out of the league next season. You heard it here first.
Do you think that's because? He seems to me like he is absolutely not walking away. Like he's got some sort of like mental because he's by far the most accomplished older quarterback at his age bracket, right? So he seems to just not want it, like he wants to cement that as I'm the greatest 50-year-old quarterback. And I think without Giselle now, I think that was what was actually going to make him retire. I think without that, I think he's going to be back. I just don't know if he'll be. They will. I think they're going to push him out of the league instead of him walking away from the league. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I guess he's looking at going, well, I'm better than Geno Smith.
Well,
I'm better than Baker Mayfield, so why can't I be in the NFL? Maybe it's a money thing.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, and he still throws a good ball. If you watch him throw, it's not like he's losing the touch. It's the game isn't speeding up on him at this point.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, even because Peyton is last year, I think he could barely throw the ball, and he still won a damn Super Bowl. So I don't, there's a decline on, and I saw it on some of the throws he did deep. That's where you see the decline first, right? The deep ball. But all right.
All right then.
Broncos 3-5 versus Titans 5-3. Titans came off that disappointing loss in Kansas City.
What do we have? Broncos and Titans?
Yep.
This damn game. Hell.
Last week, the Titans did everything they could but win the game. Derrick Henry went insane. Their defense played lights out, and they still lost.
Well, I mean, when you're running out Malik Willis at 5 for 16 and 80 yards, to even be in the game against Kansas City was pretty damn impressive.
Well, let's go with the first. It's the Broncos. Who do the Broncos have? Good old Russie Wilson, who also, by the way, is another quarterback I do not think will be in the league next year. Is he still playing? I thought he got hurt.
He's still playing.
He did get
played
hurt,
against-
but he played
yeah,
in Jags.
He played in London or wherever their last game was, because there was that whole joke about him doing high knees in the aisle on the plane flight over.
Well, I think the biggest problem in Denver is Russell Wilson and their running game. Their running game was just dismal. I think overall, Denver just doesn't have a very good game. And on the flip side of that, you're right. The Titans did everything they did last week and still lost. But this game, King Henry is enough to beat the Denver Broncos. I know they have a better defense, but they don't have a very good offense at all. I mean, I'm just amazed that Russell Wilson's still a starter. Who's the backup in Denver?
Brett Rippon.
Oh, well, that's why he's still a starter. That makes a lot of sense. Long story short, this is going to be another one of those games that you're like, other than watching, Derrick Henry run over people, this is going to be a pretty boring game in my opinion. But just for the sake of choosing one, one's 3-5, one's 5-3. One has Russell Wilson, the other has Tannehill. Both are pretty stucky in my book. Running game, you have a better running game with the Titans. Receivers, well, you'd have better receivers in Denver, but they don't have a quarterback to throw to them, so receivers don't play here. And by all that equation and mathematical figures, I'm going to go with Derrick Henry runs all over the Broncos and the Titans win. I'll take the Titans on this one. That make any sense to you? Good.
It made perfect sense.
Nice.
So there's big part of me wants to go and say the Titans are going to win. Mostly to jinx them because I'm really good of picking the same team as you and they both lose. Or we both lose. But I think you play the game. You had the team that you are looking up to and you want to be on the ropes. You shut them out in the first half. You ran the ball. You were doing everything you did, and they still came back and beat you. And I think it takes a toll. And I think Denver wants this one. And I think it goes one of two ways. Either the Titans galvanize and rally and just lock up the AFC South and do get their first round playoff exit, or they fall apart. And I actually think they're going to fall apart. I think the Broncos are going to stop Henry, and I don't think the Titans have enough firepower, and I think they're going to have an emotional letdown. That's what I think is going to happen. Plus, I want it to happen. I want it to happen. So to be completely clear, I want the Titans to lose. So I am going with the Broncos, and Russell Wilson
in football
throws it back to 5 years ago.
Okay.
That's also the best case scenario in my head, so I'm doing that.
I'm gonna save that's a stupid effing pick. Doesn't require it yet, but this one's pretty close.
Yeah, I think the emotional letdown could be an upset this week. The emotional letdown.
Oh my! Now we're
damage.
playing football based on emotions. Okay.
Well, you can say that, but I mean, how many teams have had a Super Bowl hangover? Right? They lose the Super Bowl and then they do shit next year. So it's something that happens, right?
Look here. There ain't no crying in football, Wardy. Ain't no crying in football. You and your emotions have no place on this field. Read, react, run, tackle, score.
Feel bad because you got beat last week.
Oh, he's so emotional.
The Browns at the Dolphins.
Well, it's safe to say Tua's over his, you got knocked out, right? I mean, he's back. He's doing good. He looks good. I think that Miami's firing on all cylinders again with him back for sure. It's a different team with him, right? He looks on fire. Hill looks good. Everybody looks good. This team's back, man. I think Miami's going to be something. I think they'll make the playoffs. I don't know how much of a splash they'll make, but not a very bad team, man. They're 6-3. They're rolling and rocking and rolling. I think the only weak point in Miami, honestly, to me, in my opinion, is the run game. I know they brought over Wilson, right?
Yep.
We'll see, right? They got Mustard and Wilson. They got the 49ers backfield. How well do they do in San Fran that they're not there still, right? So I'm not going to say that that's a big improvement or a big. I mean, I guess we'll see. But with the kind of pass game and the kind of game Tua plays, you would think your running backs are going to have a lot of room to run, and I'm sure they will. But I like Miami, bro. I think their defense is not bad either. Not the best of it, right? Obviously, but I think they're going to be something, man. I think they're doing something special this season. Not enough to win a Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not saying that, but maybe make the playoffs. Maybe make a little noise, win a game or two.
Ripper says the Dolphins are going to eat brisket. That's what I heard.
There you go. I don't know about that, or Brisket's going to give it up. But on the other side, they have Jacoby Brisket. Now, we all know that there ain't good. You can't take brisket to Miami and eat meat, right? So
there's no good brisket in Cleveland, right?
No, the Browns look trashy. They really do. Not even the only aside from Chubb, what do you have there, right? You have Cooper, who's again a great receiver, but who's throwing to him? You're back to Jacoby Brisket, who's now 1,800, almost 1,900 yards, 7 TDs, 5 picks. I don't know what's up with Cleveland, but they just don't look good. And they should, man. They're supposed to have a good defense. It's supposed to be something special. They have a good running back. I just don't think it's enough to beat Miami. I think Tua's too dynamic. Unless, somebody hits him in the head, I think the Dolphins take it out. Take Cleveland and spank that Brisket. So, the Dolphins, long story short.
Yeah, it's at home. You've got it's the home run hitters, right? They've got Waddle, they've got Hill. One of them, every game, one of them gets open and gets a seam and breaks it for a touchdown, right? And it doesn't have to be a pretty throw from Tua. It just has to be a throw. I'm still not convinced in Tua. I know he is doing better. However, I think any competent quarterback would be doing well in this offense, right? They got, again, Waddle, Hill, Gesicki, the two former running backs and from the 49ers who make one competent running back. Like, this is a good team. It's got a decent defense. It's a stacked team. I think on the flip side, you're right. The Browns, Brisket is a placeholder. He's waiting for Watson. Questions: what's Cleveland going to get when Watson comes back? Is he going to be, everything they think and more? Who knows? He's had so much time off. I don't know how that. I definitely don't think this year it helps them. And what else to say? The Dolphins are playing at home. They've got the better weaponry. They should win this one. Not going for another crazy upset. So Dolphins.
It's not Dolphins. Still don't believe in Tua. I don't really believe in him either. But man, he looked pretty good last week. 21-30, 302 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not bad at all.
What was the yardage?
302.
So it's not bad, but to me, the difference between Tua and, let's call it the category up, which is the elite quarterbacks, is Tua's hitting them for a 5-yard pass, and Hill and Waddle are breaking it for 15. And it's more just it's a short, quick pass that they then do something special. Whereas you get the high-end quarterbacks, they hit you at a 15-yard and they get 30, 40-yard chunks. So, or they throw wide receivers open who don't have separation. Like, I don't think Mahomes has near the weaponry in Kansas City yet. He throws for 400 and 500 yards a game, right? So does that make sense? I think that's kind of the levels. I think he's doing good in the system and what they're trying to do, but his playmakers are making most of those yards for him.
It'd be nice to get a breakdown on his throws. We only had a really good set.
Yeah, we had Calvin Ridley. Where are you at?
I mean, if you guys are willing to pay for the advanced stats, I'll start breaking down throws. But
Striker will not do that free.
I don't know what kind of budget Ward he has in
Yeah.
this show.
YouTube guys, we need advanced stats. One donation, please. All right.
So,
Dolphins across the board.
Yay.
Next up, we got the Saints and the Steelers.
Oh, jeez. Another game. Well, I like watching the Saints. They got some talent. I mean, if you broke this game down to my favorite saying, fantasy relevance, you definitely don't have much other than maybe Kamara. I guess you can't Hill. I guess you can. On the Saints side, you got Kamara. That's 1 point. Hill depends how they use him. So we'll give him a half point.
Yeah, half a point at least.
Olave, the new rookie receiver, I'd give him half a point too. So you got Dalton. Let's say you have 2 points on the Saints side. What do you
Does he take away a half a point?
Maybe. What do you have on the Steelers side though?
Nothing. They traded away their half a star.
Najee Harris should be a point, but he's not really. So they really have nothing. Nothing. So, is it going to be an exciting game? Sure, it probably will. I mean, Steelers are still swinging, right? Like they're not great, but their defense is still in there, right? But the Saints on the other side with that dynamic offense. Sorry, Strikey, 1 second. With that dynamic offense, I think they tear it up. But what's up, Strikey? Sorry, buddy.
Okay, so running backs for the two teams. The lead running back for one team is 104 carries for 443 yards and a touchdown. The other's 108 carries for 361 and a touchdown.
Correct.
There's not a lot of difference there. I'm not saying that Kamara is not electric, but
you're missing the other side of
Kamara
Kamara.
hitter.
You're missing the other side of Kamara though. The 36 receptions, 319 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
True.
So yeah, you break that down. That's giving him what, 600 and whatever yards. More than that. I'm sorry, I'm blind. It's almost 750 something yards, right? Whatever it is. That's a lot of yards for one guy.
Yeah,
I'll take that. I'll take that all day in a running back. So yeah, I would say he's electric.
I was just saying from a running back point of view, they're kind of equal. That's all I was trying to get at. I'm not saying Kamara's a better or worse player than Harris or even close, because I would give up for Calvin Ridley at that point. You guys can have Calvin. I'm just going to quit if I had actually thought that.
No, what I'm saying though is that we got to look at the whole scope of it, right? As a running back, does he receive out of the backfield? Does he run out of the back? Right. So you got to look at run yards and receiving yards to count the whole package. And if you look at Kamara's whole package as a running back, I'd take him any day. Whereas Najee Harris, I don't know what his receptions are, but I'm guessing not many because Kamara is one of the top 2 receivers in the Saints. But yeah. Anyways, long story short, Steelers can't do this one, not with Pickett or whatever his name is, not with Najee Harris or Johnson. So the Saints take this one. In battle of the teams, I'm gonna go with the Saints.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Harris of last year, but it definitely didn't show up this year. Especially having to pick him in one of the leagues where he was sitting around and you're like, I have to pick him. He's the only one left. And in hindsight, I'm like, well, do you have to? Just go. Go for a wideout instead.
It comes down to teams can put 7-8 in the box against the Steelers without a problem and not have to worry about the ball being thrown downfield.
And on another note, in the Steelers, T.J. Watt is back this week.
Was he going to throw the ball, catch the ball, run the ball?
Oh, but he makes a difference on that defense.
Yeah, he does. They're not. I mean, neither one of these teams is good. And maybe you're right. Maybe T.J. Watt will make the difference in this game, and he'll terrorize Andy Dalton, because that's the kind of the Saints. The Saints are not. They're 3 wins. They're not kicking tail anymore. This is definitely not the Drew Brees Saints. Steelers look like it's a very big rebuilding year for them, and they're trying to figure out the pieces. I don't like either one of these teams. They might end up in a tie. So you went with the Saints, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do the Steelers at home. T.J. Watt goes crazy, strips the ball, touchdown, wins the game.
Yeah. All right. Maybe. I doubt it though.
Yeah,
I'm still reserving my that's a stupid effing pick.
It's home. It's a team that's 3-6 beating a team that's 2-6 beating a team that's 3-6. I wouldn't call that a crazy upset.
No, I'm waiting for you to tell me Jacksonville's going to be Kansas City, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, well, that's like 4 down. So yeah, we'll get to that. The Lions at the Bears.
Well, the Lions actually kind of have a quarterback. Well, he does. He throws well. He's definitely not a
He is a
running back
quarterback.
pretending to be a quarterback, but it's Goff. He does have 2,000 yards, 14 TDs, and 7 picks. The Lions also have a decent running game, I guess, depending on who shows up. The receiving core is definitely great. Josh Reynolds, the Egyptian receiver. Thing is, last couple of weeks, where have they been?
Well, I mean, last week we were talking about Lions being terrible on receiving because they traded Hawkinson and they didn't really have a decent tight end backup after that. And then they went out and scored 2 touchdowns to tight ends last weekend.
There you go.
So, and beat Green Bay, by the way.
Yeah, but week before that, who they play and gets killed by? I just can't recall. Do you know who? Anyone?
I mean, the week before
Does
they
it
actually
start
got
with
killed by the
Cow and
Dolphins.
end with Boy?
No, that was actually 2 weeks ago. If he wants to go, or 3 weeks ago. If he
Last
wants to
week
go back,
was it 3 weeks? All right, 3 weeks then.
There was a loss to the Dolphins in there too.
There you go.
Oh, by the way, you still didn't beat them as bad as the Patriots did. So.
We let our JV team play the second half. It's all good. Back to this game. Lions and the Bears. Look, man, fantasy relevance wise, the Bears have 1 point in the running back department because they got a great running back in Fields. It's awesome running back. I mean, that guy is just smoking other. I mean, dude, he has 602 yards and 4 touchdowns at running. I mean, he's better than some of the running backs that are running right now in the NFL. 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, 6 picks. So, like I said, a running back that throws the ball every now and then. The receiving core was supposed to be upgraded with Claypool. We'll still wait to see that. Again, great, go get a nice receiver, but who's throwing to him? Doesn't make a difference if you still have a running back playing quarterback. They're saying youth football where you play your best athlete at quarterback. So that's what the Bears' biggest problem is. On the flip side of that, the Lions aren't great. I mean, their quarterback is a little bit better. The running game, I guess, if you put them both together, they equal one Justin Fields. The receiving core, I think, is awesome. I'm not going to say this is a toss-up, but it's not a great game as far as both teams. I do say that I think Detroit edges them out a little bit. I think I can't say if they're going to maintain the run game because Pollard ran over the Lions, didn't he? Didn't he run all over the Lions, Strikey?
I am trying to find that for you right now.
Long story short, Wardy, to make this one not take too long, I'm going to go with the Lions because I don't believe the running back of the Bears can run all over him all by himself and win the game.
12 carries for 83 yards for Pollard against the Lions.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Lions. Lions take this one in the game of the Borings.
The Lions.
Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my!
The Lions are the last year's Jets' prolifically bad defense. And to me, this comes down to I mean the Lions at some point had the number one offense. I don't know where that's gone, but it's taken a hit in their last few weeks, and it's kind of dropped back to earth. And the defense looks just as bad. They did beat Green Bay, but at this point, it looks like I think you're right. Aaron Rodgers needs to retire. So I honestly see Justin Fields a running back being enough. Like this Lions team can't stop they can't stop, and Pollard is a good back. But if you can give up Pollard 86, Justin Fields might get 300 yards on the ground. And doesn't need to throw the ball. Like Claypool, he can be like, Claypool, just sit on the sideline. I got this, Throwing the fact that the Bears defense is actually decently legit, way more than the Lions. And I'm going with the Bears. And the Bears are home.
Well, I'm taking the Lions, Babu. or whatever the name of the guy is in the Jungle Book.
All right. We are going on to what I guess if you had to, if you weren't a Jags fan, this would be the game of the week. The Vikings and the Bills.
Well, let's start with, is Josh Allen going to play? Because that could make a huge difference, right?
And does he have a UCL tear and he's not going to play for the rest of the season or something like that?
Wow. That would kill me across the board in fantasy football.
Yeah,
they've been pretty coy about him the past day or two, so I'm not thinking it's good.
Well,
it was something,
but I would think
major,
of it,
wouldn't they come out with it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, that's something that if it's a major one, they're like, oh, he's done.
Well, but what if it's like a UCL sprain or something where it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks, and they're trying to downplay it to?
Well,
I mean, there's other things.
Well, but I see
right?
that, but that's what I'm saying is, if it was a catastrophic one, we would probably know already. Like if he'd ripped it, they were like, he's out. It seems like it probably is something that's significant, and the question is, can he Herbert it, or what's the level there?
I guess we're going to find out. I don't think it's something major. I think it is something that he's day to day on. I'm honestly thinking
User
it's 2 to
joined your
3
channel.
weeks. I think they're trying to.
Hello.
User was moved out of your channel.
I think we're trying to see if he can get over it right in a few days. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's probably going to be out a couple of weeks. But once he gets better, he'll be back. Obviously, I think he is out this game, and I think that makes a huge difference. I don't think Buffalo can beat Minnesota without Josh Allen. I think the defense is good, sure, but defense is one thing, and it should be a low-scoring game if the defense steps it up. I just don't think that Singletary or whoever's throwing the digs. Who's the backup quarterback?
That's the Case Keenum, ex-Viking.
Yeah, maybe, right? Inspired quarterback. Either way, I hate to say this. You see, there has to be a caveat here. If Josh Allen plays, I'm with the Bills. If he doesn't play, I'm with the Vikings. So how do we decide this one?
You pick a team and you roll.
Man,
I'm going to do the same thing. It's not like I get an unfair advantage, right?
I'm going to go with the Bills. I'm going to hope that Josh Allen plays. And if not, I'm going to hope that Case Keenum plays inspired enough to score a couple of touchdowns and the Bills defense put a spanking on Cousins over there. So, yeah, I'm going with the Bills.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. So I'm pretty sure either way. I think so you can come back next week, and if Allen doesn't play and Keenum throws a goose egg on the board and the Vikings win 97-3, you can be like, I said so, and I'd be like, yep, you're right. But I think either way in this case, Bills got the number one defense. They're upset about losing to the Jets. They're either going to have Josh Allen, who didn't get out of the game, so it was so not bad that he didn't leave the game, or they've got Case Keenum, who's got a serious axe to grind for leading the Vikings to the playoffs, and that run that they had for them to say, you know what, we're gonna get this other guy. So I think they're good shape either way. And we've talked about Cousins and we talked about the Vikings. Do they feel like a 7-1 team? I mean, they don't, do they?
Well, I mean, they're not doing bad. Cousins is almost just about 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6 picks. Cook is 608 yards, 5 touchdowns. Jefferson has 867, 3 touchdowns. Steven 418, 2 touchdowns. So they're not.
Yeah, I know, but that's what Cousins does. He gets his stats, and the Vikings get their stats. What I'm saying is, does this feel like a 7-1 team? Is this like if you had money and you were putting it on a Super Bowl champ? Is this your or the NFC's participant in the Super Bowl? Is this your team?
No, but let's look at their schedule, right? Why are they 7-1? Their first game was against the Packers, explainable.
Yep.
They lost against the Eagles, okay. They beat the Lions, the Saints, the Bears, the Dolphins, but Tua was back, wasn't he? Week 6, or was he?
No, Teddy played in that game.
So okay, there you go. A Tua-less Dolphins. They beat the Little People's Army of Cardinals. and they beat the Commanders. So you're right, man. Are they really? They don't feel like a 7-1 team. You're right. They're beating. They
Who
have
they
a soft
should.
schedule.
Yeah, they're beating who they should, and they're getting opportunities, right? Like when they played the Dolphins, they don't have their quarterback. When they play the Bills, maybe they're down to their backup quarterback. Like so, I can see this team rolling the luck thing up to the playoffs, with one loss, but they're no one-loss team, if that makes sense.
Well, shit, the rest of the schedule is not looking pretty for them, though. They've got the Bills, they've got the Cowboys, they've got the Patriots, they've got the Jets, they got the Lions. So, then the Colts, then the Giants, then the Packers, then the Bears.
Yeah, so
you're right. They're going to make the playoffs,
Yeah.
wild card, but yeah, because they're going to lose a few games straight here.
they'll be
They're gonna lose
the
to the
North
Cowboys.
champs. So
The Bills, the Cowboys, maybe even the Patriots and the Jets. That's 4 games they're about to lose. Think about that. They'll definitely make the playoffs, but you're right. They don't. The only reason they feel like a 7-1 team is they've had a soft schedule.
Yeah, that was the point.
Still going with the Bills.
Same here.
Great. Now the Bills are going to lose.
that has nothing to me. I don't like the Bills at all anyhow. So I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Texans, the 6-1 Texans versus the 6-2 Giants.
The only good thing about the Texans is their running back. I already made the mistake of going to Texans maybe 2 or 3 times this season. This game is Texans aren't fun to watch anymore. Honestly, the only bright side they have is Pierce, and that's mostly yardage than it is anything else. Mills is trash. Their receivers are trying to leave. Like Cooks was hoping he would have gone to Dallas, didn't happen.
Like, please, anyone take me?
I mean, this is a game you're like, do we even watch it? Hey, look, it's on TV. Oh, no, we're not watching it. It's not a good game. It's going to be a boring game, in fact. I think the Giants stomp on them. I think Barkley runs all over them. So make this one sweet and quick and easy. Texans are trash. They're not, they're not the Cowboys. And the Giants run all over them. The end. The Giants.
The end.
And what else can you say?
Yeah, the Texans are a running back. So if we even did the fantasy relevance, like they don't even stack up against the other team.
Well, Pierce has been scoring points in fantasy.
But you're going to pick Barkley over Pierce every day, twice on Sunday. So I'm saying, like, even on the positional, like if you go, oh well, yeah, that doesn't even line up for him.
There's only 100-yard difference between Barkley and Pierce.
You still pick Barkley over Pierce, right?
Oh, yes.
I'm saying, like, at least against another team, you would go, oh, their running back is better. They don't even have that advantage. Like, they're one bright spot. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I think you're right. And let's give credit where credit is due. The NFC least is not that way this year. And you guys have amazing records across the board there. So Eagles are perfect. The Giants are 6-2. The Cowboys are 6-2. The Commanders are 4-5. Like, your bad team is 4-5, right? And they don't appear to be that bad of a team. So congrats on you guys. Whoever makes it out of the NFC East should be tough out in the playoffs. Going with the Giants, I think the Texans are a bad team. I think the fact they've been in as many games they have is they've got really good coaching, because they should not be competing at the NFL level with some of the players on the roster. So,
are we still on the Giants and Texans?
We are. I'm picking the Giants.
Hey, I got to step away for a second, boys. I got to get the critters in the house, so sorry.
Statistician is gone. But that's okay, because we're going to talk about the game of the week.
Oh, boy.
Welcoming at Arrowhead Stadium, the Jaguars playing the Chiefs.
Are you going?
I am planning on it.
Nice. I would figure this is a game you'd go to.
Yeah, I'm just trying. So I'm playing the game of hopefully the Chiefs have. I'm trying to get the right tickets. Like I really want like front row visitor seat tickets.
Aw, you want to be able to smell Sunshine's hair. That's
Yes.
so cute.
I want to stroke his hair after the loss. Be like, it's okay.
Aw.
I know Ripper says you can't play, but don't take it personally.
The only bright, we're talking about one bright spot. The only real bright spot on the Jaguars team is Etienne.
Not Sunshine's hair.
No, Sunshine's hair is just like a side thing. Like, oh man, you just want to go stroke it. Anyways, yeah, I told you once before, and I'll say it again. I'm not a fan of Lawrence. I don't believe in Lawrence. I think he'll be either a backup or out of the league eventually, selling insurance somewhere.
Or going to the Browns.
Oh yeah, that or starring in adult videos. I don't know. Of whatever proclivity you choose. But I don't really honestly Etienne is a beast. That's really a really big bright spot for the Jaguars. It's not just again when we talked about full package running back earlier, it's his running and his passing. You know, he reminds me a lot of Kamara to be honest. Maybe just faster. Really great bright spot. And yes, I do have a couple fantasy teams, but that's besides the point. That was just luck. And I think they were big on him at the beginning of the season as well before preseason wise, and he's lived up to what he needs to be, which is great for the Jaguars. Now, if you could just get a quarterback and a couple receivers that can catch, you'd be in business big time. Kirk isn't bad. This is not really. If you had a better quarterback, I think the Jaguars would be instead of 3-6, it might be 6-3. On the flip side of that, though, fantasy relevance wise, you know, Jaguars have 1.5. You really want to count Kirk, and the Chiefs have 30. So the difference is Patrick Mahomes, right? The Chiefs are the flip side of what the Jaguars are. They have a quarterback, they have a tight end, they have receivers. What they don't have right now is a real running back. But I don't think you need it with a quarterback like Mahomes and a tight end like Kels, and now Schuster's starting to step it up. I mean, come on now. You know the Jaguars aren't going to win this game. We won't prolong it any longer. The Jaguars aren't good enough to win this game. The defense isn't good enough to stop the Chiefs. I think that the Chiefs win this one handedly. I'm going to call it like a 14, maybe a 20-point game. Yeah. I wish strikers who could hear what the point spread was. So
I think I looked at it today, and I think it was 9.
Oh, they'll cover.
So the over was 50 something, and I'm like,
No.
I don't.
They'll cover the spread and the under, not the over.
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about last week because we won. The Raiders went up 17-0, and I said in the show we couldn't cover Devontae Adams. He had 140 yards at halftime. They slid our best corner over to him, and they said that's what happened. What really happened is Devontae Adams got hit in the hands multiple times and dropped the ball. And the Raiders, we played the entire fourth quarter was each team going, you should win this game. The Jags were down 4th and 1. Thought we were going to go for it. They did the whole, lineup to go for it. They didn't go for it. They kicked the field goal. They bunked the field goal off the uprights. Then the Raiders go down the field and they dork it up and turn over on downs. And then we couldn't run out the clock correctly. We should have run out the clock with at a minute left. We basically got a holding penalty and it stopped the clock instead of getting the clock down to like 15 seconds. We couldn't even run the clock out right. Fortunately, we kicked the field goal at that point, went up by 7, and the Raiders just couldn't come back. Terrible. Like two teams that cannot win, right? The nice thing is Lawrence did well. I'm saying all that because I have no expectations they're going to win. If the Jags play a great game and we go up big and Etienne runs for 5,000 yards in this game, Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback that you want, and he's going to take that team on his back in the fourth quarter and kick your ass, right? Like, there is no scenario I can come up with in my mind that we're like, we've stopped them for, the entire game and they don't win. And the sad thing is, it's really why I don't want to go watch the game, because I know what's going to happen. Like, maybe we have a good half, but it's a young team. They don't know how to win yet. They don't got the pieces. I'm kind of excited to see if we can get Calvin Ridley next year and he's a true number one. Lawrence is starting to show some signs of learning from his mistakes, but even last year was our last game. It was just efficient. It wasn't awe-inspiring, right? He was just doing what he's supposed to be doing. So no, the Chiefs. I will be very happy, however, if I come back and me betting against my team, we're 2-0.
Are we still talking about the Jaguars? Look, they played the damn Raiders last week. Get over it. They ain't doing shit to the Chiefs. The Raiders are not the Chiefs.
I
It's
agree.
going to be a horrible game. Save your money and watch it on TV. Although this is like a good opportunity for you to go to a game locally. So I would do it. Just go with an open mind that you're going to watch an air show by Patrick Mahomes and company.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, the Chiefs. Sorry, Wardy.
It's okay. Colts at the Raiders.
Colts and the Raiders. Let's see here. The coachless Colts.
the coachless, quarterbackless Colts.
Sorry,
Colts
the
versus the
consultant coach.
the Raiders, who can't win a game.
Just, I mean, honestly. So the Colts
Who cares? You just want to?
Yeah, really, it's true. Who gives a shit? But listen, if anything, this is a game the Colts need, right? They just fired their coach. They have a bench quarterback that they spent money on. They need a feel-good game, and this is probably it. The Raiders, on the flip side, also need a game, but this isn't it. I think the Colts defense is going to play good enough to beat the Raiders. Devontae Adams is a beast, and he showed it again. But honestly, to me, there's just something about the Raiders, and I know exactly what it is, man. And that's something about the Raiders is Carr. Carr is a choker. His brother was a choker. He's a choker, and it's going to continue to be that way. I don't think that Carr is a long-term quarterback for the Raiders anymore. I think that eventually they'll be looking for somebody new. I think Carr will be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in 2-3 years. With Lawrence backing him up. I think the Colts take this one. There's not much more to say this game. It's not going to be a great game. The Colts are playing really poor too, man. Offensively, anyways, right?
Yeah.
You would think Taylor would be tearing it up.
They're setting records for ineptitude at this point.
Yeah. So if I have to choose the battle of the uglies here, I'm going to go with the Colts just because. Because I like Saturday.
Someone needs the number one pick. So.
Won't be the Colts. They have 3 wins. They already ruined it. So the Colts.
Yeah, it looks like the Texans are close to locking that up. I'm going to go with the Raiders. I think the Colts are completely dysfunctional. I think the Raiders have the same thing I've said all seasons. The Raiders have skill positions. They should, Devontae Adams should alone be able to beat the game. Josh Jacobs should be able to beat them alone. They're starting Sam Eschling, whatever his name is. They've got no wide receivers. Jonathan Taylor's not doing well. The line's not blocking anybody. Like, this is just a bad offensive team. And I didn't realize that. I thought like Paris Campbell and those guys were going to take a step forward, not just fall apart. So, no, I'm going with the Raiders. You're right about Carr. I don't think he's. I don't know that I necessarily believe that there's a winner and a loser. I think in to make it to the pro level, you're a winner on some level. I do think that there are quarterbacks that are more impervious to like late game mistakes, and that's just because they're smart quarterbacks, right? And Carr is a very inconsistent quarterback. He tries to do too much. He just he makes some boneheaded decisions. So kind of like Wentz, like one of those kind of quarterbacks. But I see him being better than the Colts. So Raiders, and it's at home. This might be a good one upcoming. So we got the Cowboys versus the Packers.
I don't know about a good one. I mean, I guess if by good one you're a Cowboys fan and you want to watch their defense tear up old man Rodgers, yeah, it's a good one. Look, man, I ain't saying this because I'm a Cowboys fan, but I'm saying it. The Cowboys defense is money right now. They're hot. They really are. They're doing great. They're going to continue to do great. Are there teams out there that'll beat them? Probably. Depend. I have to look at their full schedule, but this isn't one of them. Sorry, man. You saw Rodgers last week. He looks something's wrong with that guy. Honestly, he's having some mental issues. That whole team has missed him. I'll say it again. I said it last week. I'll say it one more time. How in the heck are you not running your running backs, man? They have two great running backs, and it's like, let's not use them. We'll just let Rodgers throw it. I think the problem there is Rodgers, man. I think Rodgers runs the show there still. He's a little nutso, and he's going crazy, and I think he's that rotten apple in the bunch that needs to go, man. I honestly feel that way. I think it's time for Rodgers to retire. He's hit that point where he's just like, he's that cranky old man that's just not going to stop being cranky, right? Like, ugh.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, pretty much. Not fun to be around. Not fun to be in the locker room with. You can tell just by the way he acts on the field that he's just that guy that people are like, all right, man, F this guy. He's an old man now. Nobody wants to hang out with him. Nobody wants to be in a locker room with him. Nobody likes him. He's the principal, bro. That's what he is. He's the principal of a high school now. And it's time for Rodgers to go, man. If the Packers want to be relevant again down the road, it's time, man. It's time they separate from Rodgers. It really is. Is love the answer? Yeah. I'm not sold on that either. I guess we'll see. He's never really had a real shot. But Rodgers is the problem in Green Bay, and Rodgers needs to go. Now, if you think he was frustrated last week, come on, man. The Cowboys on that flip side, aside from their offense, look at their defense, man. D. Lawrence, Parsons, Diggs. I mean, fantasy relevance, if you were playing IDP with individual defensive player, man, they'd have a lot of stars on that defense, would they not?
Yes.
So, and then you look at the offense, right? Dak, right now to me, Dak's still like a half a point. We'll see. But you put Ezekiel and Pollard together, that's one solid point. Maybe even Pollard by himself now. I do believe that Pollard is the better running back, and I'm saying this from a Cowboys point of view, right?
Yeah.
I would know I'm a Cowboys fan, so I think Zeke is way too much money for the output that he gives us. I think Pollard is going to get paid. We're going to have to make a decision this year. It's either lose Pollard or lose Zeke. Pay one or the other. We already owe Zeke money, so you already know what's going to happen. Pollard's gone. I guarantee you. And
would you now, if you were a GM, and just hear me out here, if you were a GM and you had both of them, would you do one or the other, or option B, get a guy in the third round?
Man, look, what the Cowboys should have done was traded Zeke. That's what they should have done. They should have traded Zeke, kept Pollard, paid Pollard. I don't know about to get a guy there. I get it. I get what you're saying, right? Running backs nowadays seem to be not a dime a dozen, but everything is running back by committee, right? So you probably could have picked up a running back. Would he give you the right production? I don't think any team really has that one-star running back anymore. There's a few, right? You still have like New Orleans, who has Kamara. And there's Minnesota has Cooks, but even Cooks hasn't been shining this season, right? So maybe, man. So you're saying let them both go and get a running back in the third, second round?
I mean, it's like this. You got X amount of dollars that's in the salary cap, right? And if you're putting it in a position that you can easily replace with if you got a $20 million spot that you can easily replace with a third round pick and I don't know $500,000. That's smart financials, right?
Yeah.
Now, and just what you're saying, right, is running backs pop up all the, you get third or fourth on the depth chart on the running back, and they're still popping 5 yards a carry. Now, not every team can do that, and again, there's lines. There's a lot involved, as you very well know. It's the running back does. The running back's job's a lot easier if the offensive line has pushed the defensive line 5 yards off the ball, right? So. But again, I think even Barkley, like guys like Barkley, are they worth $20 million of your salary cap? I don't know.
Yes and no, man. Honestly, it depends on what kind of output they're going to give you, right? And I get what you're saying. Look, running backs are expiring goods, right? They're like a jar of milk in your refrigerator, right? They're only going to last so long, and then they're gone. Because running backs take a beating, a hit after hit after hit after hit. It's like when the Cowboys let go of Murray, whatever his name is, Murray. Was it
DeMarco Murray?
Yeah, DeMarco Murray. There you go. Everyone's like, "What are you doing?" Blah blah. Dude, if you look at the amount of
Yeah, oh boy,
carries,
we ran the wheels off that guy.
yeah, and the next year he was nothing, right? The
Yeah.
Cowboys knew what they were doing. People were going crazy about it. Um, so we know they're expiring goods and paying them high money like that. Yeah, you think like, man, you're paying 20 mil for an expiration date. If I think we've changed the game of football, right? Where we had those running backs that were such a difference makers. Like Derrick Henry, right? Even Derrick Henry can't do it all by himself, though, right? You have a great running back with a poor quarterback and poor receiving core, and guess what? You're not winning all your games. The concept with this, I think the quarterback is still the number one athlete on your team and the one that should get paid. I think a solid receiver, obviously, because the quarterback's throwing to him, sure. I think the running game is not necessarily a second thought, but the running game doesn't have the same impact as before because now you can get two guys that can do the damage of one, right?
Yeah, or just wait for Justin Fields, value to plummet and then put him at running back. Yeah, there's lots of options. But basically what I'm trying to say is it's in my book, you pay for your quarterback, and quite frankly, if you're really lucky, you get a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes that you get and you draft, and he just immediately comes in and lights the world on fire, where you get 2 or 3 years of salary cap goodness. You pay for the left tackle. You pay for the defensive end that's a pass rushing guy. Those are the position. You pay for the wide receiver. Those are the 4 positions you put your salary cap money on. And again, you don't waste it on a position like running back or cornerback. Those are maybe cornerback. You get where I'm going. You don't waste it on linebackers, so on and so forth.
Well, the thing with Zeke is I think we're pot committed, right? He's still under contract.
You're in.
No money.
Yeah.
What do we do? You cut him, you're still going to lose money. So
correct.
Yeah, the business part of it is going to see Pollard go away because Pollard's a free agent next year and he's going to get paid, bro. You can't franchise him and pay him money like you're paying Zeke. We can't afford that.
Yeah.
So I think we lose Pollard. I think Pollard ends up in a team getting paid and good for him, but that's unfortunate because I think that we should have taken advantage of the trade deadline. And traded Zeke, man. I really do think so, and kept Pollard. But oh well, that's not going to happen. But anyways, long story short, the Cowboys are a way better team than the Packers. CeeDee Lamb, so on and so forth. Pollard, Elliott, Dak. I think it's just too much for the Packers defense, and the defense for the Cowboys is too much for the Packers offense. I honestly think this is going to be another. This might be a game where Aaron Rodgers takes his helmet and bashes himself on the head and knocks himself out for the season.
Or they might play love, right? So.
I'm telling you, man. Look, before the end of the season, either Rodgers takes himself out of the game forever, or the Packers finally say, "Man, you know what? This dude, just stay home from now on, bro. We don't like you anymore."
Yeah,
we'll see. I just think that the Cowboys win this one handedly.
So I'm back, but I want to chime in on the Rodgers thing because he's got so much money on the cap. They're not going to tell him to stay home. They can't afford it.
But he's so bad for that team. Just look at his attitude on the field, man.
Oh, I'm not arguing that, but I mean, you're talking dead cap money this year's like $100 million or something.
Well, it's the same concept with Zeke. We're talking about Zeke and Pollard. You can't get rid of Zeke. He's going to count towards the cap fee regardless. So we're going to lose Pollard. He's a free agent next year. He's going to get paid. There's no way we keep them both. We're screwed. We're screwed with Ezekiel Elliott till his contract runs out. Ugh. But anyways, the Cowboys win.
So I'm Rodgers was the MVP not that long ago, right? I mean, and I keep waiting for him to like and relax and it's not happening. Like they couldn't beat the Lions. Like and
he misses Devontae Adams. He has no targets. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
It's not that, dude. Brady had nobody in New England. Like he's not had good wide receivers, and they've still moved the ball down. They look bad, like really, really, really bad. So he had. This is my theory. He had McCartney. The GMs weren't doing a good job. Now he's got Flynn. I think it's a coaching. And like we said, like I honestly do not believe in this day and age that Aaron Rodgers sitting there changing the play and going, I'm going to throw the ball for, 2 straight incompletions. I don't think he's doing that. I think the coach doesn't run the freaking ball. Hey, I got a running back. He's getting 5 yards a carry. Let's throw a screen pass. And, I think coaches get cute and they think that they are their own, their X's and O's are so much better, and it comes down to plays. And if the Packers were smart, they would run the hell out of the ball, and they would run those 2 running backs into the ground, and they would let Aaron Rodgers throw on 3rd and short and take a shot or whatever. Like, that's smart with this team. That is how they should be playing. And they're not. And I think it's the coach. I don't think it's Rodgers. I think he's definitely missing Adams. I think his wide receivers aren't very good. But I think the coach and the game plan is like, if you've got Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball 50 times, you're stupid. Like, he's got no one to throw to. Run the stupid guy who's getting 5 yards to carry. So I think the Cowboys are going to win. I think the Cowboys are going to be handily. With that being said, who knows? Maybe Favre turns it around because we both picked against them. But I think they're donezo, and they're going to get a really good pick, which and like we said, Rodgers is there. He's got too much contract money tied into him. So maybe a trade to Seattle next year. I don't know.
Seattle won't have the cap space and won't spend it on him.
I don't know. I would like to point out, though, that Brett Favre is not going to do anything this game because he's retired.
Yeah, I was.
Did I say Favre?
About that? You did.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's the Rodgers.
I mean, about the only thing Brett Favre might do is send some really interesting text messages.
Yeah, that's correct. So.
You
heard it. You heard it here. Favre's replacing Rodgers, and you're gonna be like, throw for 4 touchdowns. Yeah. So Cowboys.
Top boys.
And
Right.
this podcast brought to you by Dementia.
Apparently, Wardy's already got it.
Yeah.
He's going to the testing phases of new meds.
My Lilliputian buddy and his Jekyll and Hyde offense versus the Rams.
Oh, there's a joke there. I think.
It was trying to be. It was starting off to be, and then it.
So the Little People Army versus the Rams, 3-6, 3-5. Look, I'm gonna go fantasy relevance in this one because it's the Cardinals and the Rams. You got Little People. I'll give him half a point. He's almost at. I'm gonna give him 3/4 of a point. How does that sound?
Ooh.
We got.
He's just not tall enough to reach the point line.
Well, because he runs. Because he runs and he passes. I'm gonna. Fine. We'll give him the point. He doesn't have a really good receiver. Oh wait, yes he does. He's got D-Hops.
Hey Kyler, you got to be this tall to ride the ride and get fantasy relevance. And he's like, oh man, come on guys.
2 points for the Cardinals. The Rams. I mean, if you're gonna give a point, I give Stafford half a point. Cooper Kupp is. You got to give Cooper Kupp. He's the only. Well, yeah, that's all they have. Let's be honest. If you look at fantasy relevance, the Cardinals look better, right?
Yeah.
I guess let's look at their defense, though. Who has the better defense?
The Rams had the better defense, and it's gotten old. I think they're like right neck and neck, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Kupp versus Hopkins. I think that the flip side here is that Stafford can't run and Little People can. So I'm going to give it to the Cardinals, man. I think they edge out the Rams. I think Kupp is great, but he's not going to be enough. D-Hops cancels out Kupp. Murray cancels out Stafford. And then Murray, the running back, is the only reason they win. So I'm going to give the Rams a win. I mean, the Cardinals a win here.
I throw Ertz in at least at a half a point. So I say, yeah, that's and I'm going with the Cardinals because again, I think they are very up and down, and I think Kyler is a great athlete. And this is a Rams team that literally everything runs through Kupp, like which is amazing. He's doing. I mean, if you got him in any fantasy league, you're loving life, right? Because he's the first option, the second option, the third option, and possibly the running back, right? Like, so, but yeah, the Rams, Stafford does not look good. I don't know if he's like, I won the Super Bowl, so I'm checked out. Like, I don't know. But it's him, it's Kupp, and even Aaron Donald doesn't look like he was, a year ago. So I think Hopkins is tearing it up. Like he showed no rust, right? He just came in balling. Kyler needed that. Now he's got his number one. He's got Ertz. I think they're going to win.
There you go. So we're agreeing. Once again.
We are agreeing.
Well, there you go.
So, little man takes it. Next up, we got the Chargers and the 49ers.
Oh, boy. The Chargers and the 49ers. Well, you got Herbert on one side. And who's on the other side? Garoppolo?
Garoppolo.
I'm going to throw down a fantasy relevance again, because why not? Herbert, Eckler, that's 2 points. Williams, that's 3 points. Keenan Allen, is he back? I think he's back this week. If he is, that's 4. You look at the 49ers, they got Garoppolo, half a point. Samuel, that's like 1.5 points in my book. McCaffrey, that's a point. So you still, Ayuk, that's at least half. Well, man, who are you looking at? Ayuk's another half a point. Man, we're almost even here, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Both California teams. Let's not forget that. So in-state rivalry should be a good game. I do think that Herbert's a better quarterback than Garoppolo. But you really can't, man.
And you can't discount the 49ers probably have the better defense, right? They're
True.
number 1, number 2 in the league right now.
And the 49ers have a better receiving core in Samuel and Ayuk. They have a better running back in McCaffrey. It's going to be tough, man. Can Herbert win it by himself with his receiving core? Eckler's starting to step it up too a little bit, man. This is going to be a good game, and I know that the 49ers have a better defense, but Herbert is dynamic. I think he's a great quarterback, man. I really do. I think he could be the difference. However, I'm not saying I'm picking him just yet, because on the other side, man, Samuel, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Samuel again. This is a tough one, bro.
I mean, if just Steve Young would come out of the booth and join Favre for this weekend's games.
This is really I think McCaffrey adds something to the 49ers that's going to help the 49ers go on a bit of a run. The difference maker here, again, I think you're right. It's going to be the defense. Can the 49ers defense stop Herbert? Now, Herbert can pass against anybody. Will Keenan Allen be back? Mike Williams is out too. Isn't he still injured? So you're missing receivers, man, on the Charger side. And that defense, I'm going to have to give it to the 49ers, bro. I think the running game and the defense and the fact that Herbert's missing who to throw to makes a huge difference. So I'm going to go with the Niners. The Niners.
Yeah, I think all the points you just said are correct, right? The 49ers have a great defense. They have a lot of skill positions, and we didn't even talk about Juszczyk and Kittle, and they've got a lot of players. And the flip side is the Garoppolo is holding them back. He's not been steady, for lack of a better term. And Herbert is a superstar, but his wide receivers are hurt. His defense isn't as good, and he doesn't have near as many blue chip players across the board like the 49ers. It's actually, if I was a 49ers fan, being 4-4 with this team is a major disappointment, and they do need to go on a run with McCaffrey to justify the trade and to justify everything. So I'm going with the Niners, but I would not be shocked to see the Chargers win this one.
There you go.
Home cooking, though. That's what's going to win.
Yeah.
So the Commanders on Monday night play the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles.
The Commanders. Let's see here. Well, NFC East, baby. I think that, look, I want to look at the Eagles real quick. Let it pull up. I want to see their schedule. I'm waiting for it to load, though.
Just who see how they got to 8-0.
Yes. It's not loading. All right, never mind. So, Commanders and the Eagles, bro. Look, the Eagles look good. I'm not going to lie. They do look good. I think their quarterback, Hurts, isn't bad at all. I wasn't a big believer in him, but, man, watching him play, Not a bad quarterback, bro. He's 12 touchdowns, 2 picks, over 2,000 yards. He can roll on the ground also. He's got 326 yards, 6 touchdowns. I I wouldn't call him a Patrick Mahomes per se. I think he's a little different in that sense. But man, the guy can play quarterback. He's really looking good. You've got Brown on at the receiver and Goddard at tight end. They don't look bad at all, man. The Eagles. The fact of the matter is their defense is where it's at too, man. Their defense is playing solid football. There's a reason why they're undefeated, but we really do have to look at their schedule, man. Let me pull it up.
I'm pulling it up.
Let's see here. They've got a win at Detroit, a win at Minnesota, a win already against the Commanders, a win against the Jaguars, a win against the Little Peoples. They beat the Cowboys. That was solid. Was a Dakless squad Cowboys, but does it really matter?
Stomp the
A
Steelers.
win against and a win against Houston. Like, who have they beat? Let's be honest. Who have they beat? Have beat no one, bro. No. Let's see the rest of their schedule, though, right? Now they're going. Oh yeah. Washington Commanders, which should be a win again. I'll take the Eagles over the Commanders.
Yeah, then the Colts, then the Packers, then the Titans, then the
Yeah.
Giants, then the Bears, then the Cowboys, then the Saints, the Giants.
And the Jets.
That is not a monster
Oh, no, I'm
schedule.
sorry.
No, that's preseason.
Yeah, I saw it. No, it's not. But I think that the only loss to Philadelphia Eagles, and you heard it here, and yes, I'm a Cowboys fan, but I think the Cowboys take it to them. What is that? Christmas Eve?
Looks.
Yeah, 12/24, Christmas Eve.
But
Cowboys
you
are going to be the only loss the Eagles have.
I mean, okay, so they're going to be the favorite in every game except maybe the Cowboys game.
Nah, they'll still be the favorite because they beat them before.
I mean, so I would say they got they have 3 games with winning records, right? They got the 2 against the Giants, the 1 against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Titans. So they have four teams with winning records. They've beaten so far. The Lions don't. The Vikings, they've beaten 1. Panthers don't. The Jags don't. The Cardinals don't. 2. They've beaten 2 teams with winning records. This is a cake schedule.
Yeah. It is. It is a weak schedule. I told you that. It is a weak schedule, and that's why they're there. Now, you're right. There's teams with winning records that can beat them, and we'll see. I think the 2 teams, maybe 3 teams that'll beat them. You heard it, Cowboys. I think the Saints with a losing record will end up upsetting them on New Year's Day. And I think the Giants might pull it off because those NFC East games, man, they're always huge.
Yeah.
They play each other in conference. So, yeah, I think that the Philadelphia Eagles will lose 3 games. I think the Green Bay Packers won't beat them. Week 12, you heard it. Love will be playing quarterback because Rodgers will be, I don't know, doing the double price. What is it?
Double check discount. Yeah.
Discount
Yeah,
double check.
somewhere in a retirement home somewhere. Now they haven't played anyone, bro. They're an 8-0 team that hasn't played anyone. However, they're good enough to beat the Commanders. So I'm definitely gonna take the Eagles. There's not a lot to say about the Commanders, to be honest. Dismal running game, dismal quarterback. Receivers are okay-ish, but again, dismal quarterback.
Chaos and
I don't
ownership, right? I mean, it's not good.
Yeah, I mean the FBI is gonna raid them anytime soon. So it's bad in Washington right now. The Washington commies are not gonna do great. And the Philadelphia Eagles beat them handily. Again, though, Eagles are beating weak-ass losing teams. Let's be honest. And yes, I'm an NFC East guy, and yes, I hate the Eagles. But we're just saying facts for facts. They have played nobody.
Well, and I think you said you compared Hurts to Mahomes, and I don't think that's even remotely fair. What I saw was a quarterback that was a very limited quarterback that's got a system that is designed around him where he's dinking and dunking and running the ball. And I think any good defense worth its salt is going to keep him in the pocket and say, beat me with your arm. And I don't. The Eagles wide receivers, I don't see that happening, right? Now, they do have a good defense. It's legit. But again, in playoff football, I think you're going to have to throw the ball to win. And I see them, again, hats off to them to be an 8-0, best start in the Eagles history. Good job for them. They can't make the schedule. They can only play the teams that are on the schedule. So they're doing what they need to do. And I think even though this is an NFC rivalry, I think they will take care of business because they're at home. But there's it's funny to me because when I look at the schedule, right, and I look at the teams that are in the driver's seats, I don't think the Eagles are an 8-0 team. I didn't think the Vikings are a 7-1 team. Like, I think they're normally a 2 or 3 loss team, right? A 6-3 kind of team at this point. And I'm still struggling to say who are the teams from the NFC that are the pack. Who are the teams to beat? You guys are up there. The 49ers, if they can get their act together, I think are up there. I think it's you and the 49ers that even though the Eagles have the better record, I don't believe the Vikings. In the AFC, I think it's the Bills and the Chiefs minus Josh Allen, UCL. So, Eagles.
Eagles. What's your game of the week? Say it this week.
Chat says Eagles not losing. Can't change my mind. Easy schedule in the league. A win is a win. Doesn't matter though. Tom Brady spent how many years of his career curb stomping the same team each year, which is true. Brady did kind of rampage against the Jets and a bad Dolphins squad and bad Bills squads.
Yeah, true. But where does it get you? So the Eagles are going to play a soft schedule. Fine. Then they get into the playoffs, and then they're going to play real teams.
Well, you
right?
say that, but are they playing a soft schedule? You got divisional games, and you guys are the top teams in the division. You got a perfect team, a 6-2 team, a 6-2 team, and a 4-5 team. You're by far the biggest strength of schedule division in the NFL.
How many they played? What they played the Commanders and the Cowboys. 30 beat the Giants? Nope.
No, they got two with the Giants and one more with the Cowboys.
Correct. They still have 3 teams in division 3 games in division anyways.
Correct.
That they could possibly lose. They still played a weak schedule. They played the Cowboys where they were kind of rough and tough with a backup quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I think you play the Cowboys again, you lose. I think Commanders, they're going to beat them. The Colts, Packers, Titans might have a chance. The Giants definitely have a chance. So let's say they lose those 2. That's 2 more losses. The Bears, that's going to happen. The Cowboys, that's 3 losses. I think they're going to lose to the Saints on New Year's Day. I don't know why, gut, whatever. Maybe that's a 4th loss.
But they're still going to get to the playoffs. That's for sure. I mean, at this point, they're not going to lose enough to not make the playoffs. So they're going to. The question is, do they win the East? Right.
Depends. I think the only ones. It depends. If the Giants can pull one off and the Cowboys can pull one off, nope. I personally don't think they do. I think the Cowboys come back at them and beat them on the next one. I think the Eagles will drop one to the Giants. So I do not believe they win the NFCs. I think they'll get in as a wild card. The Eagles will anyway.
Think the Cowboys are taking the East?
Yes, I do. And that's not just because I'm a homer, but because I think the Cowboys are a better team than the Eagles. It just, again, you'll see.
Well, no. I mean, the numerics say, and you're right, they beat you when you didn't have Dak, but the numerics say you're 2 games down. If they beat you, they've got a tiebreaker, which would be 3 games up, right? So you've got to win that game against the Eagles, or else you're 3 down, and I don't think that's you don't overcome that kind of get. Well, you'll be 4 down, right? Because you're 2 now. That'll be a 3rd, and then the tiebreaker is the 4th game. So yeah, you're not overcoming that. The Eagles game is a must win.
Yep, agreed.
All right, that's our show for tonight. Viral Panda disagrees. He thinks the Eagles fly. Cowboys are not taking the East. So you heard it from here from the coach. Cowboys, best team in the East. All right, everybody.
Definitely a homer pick, but yes.
They count, right? All right, guys. Thanks for your time. Get your Uncle Rico. He's willing to put $1,000 down, saying the Cowboys don't win the East.
Uh-oh. You don't want to deal with Uncle Rico. He's been on a streak with the Jets, dog. You don't want none of that.
All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. You guys have a great night.
That was fun. That was fun, homie. And we ended at a decent hour again. Well, only because, this is actually a shorter show, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was a little tired too.
It is what it is.